Today we're at Enterprise Park, which is really a quite large multi-use park that's a little east of Chattanooga. And we're going to be riding a trail called Logarithm, which is marked intermediate on the trail map that I'm looking at here, as well as marked blue on Trail Forks. And I ride this a fair amount only because it's a really short loop. It's 2.5 miles, and I can get to it, ride it, and get home in about an hour from where I live, so it's very convenient. But I will say that having ridden a fair number of places, the intermediate rating I think can only be due to the relativity of the trails on this park, and the fact that it does have this climb at the beginning, which is only 100 feet, but it is a little steep in spots and a little tricky to get over some of the roots and rocks. But aside from that, it is a very smooth trail. Definitely something that'd be great for new mountain bikers trying to get used to shifting and climbing, managing their balance, and general bike control. Here we are at the top of the initial climb. It took about 4 minutes to get up to this point, but this is typically what I think of as the end of the constant climbing. There's definitely a number of sections in here where you're going up and down, but the initial steep, consistent stuff is behind us at this point, and now we can kind of just roll through it whatever speed you feel comfortable with. And there are some bits on this trail that are somewhat enjoyable for an intermediate rider, though like I said, it's more of a convenience trail for me, not something that I would make a special effort to come out and ride. But for a newer rider, the trails are twisty enough, just enough bumps here and there, and it's narrow enough that I feel like it's a good place to kind of get used to the bike and bike handling in general. It's also really not a bad cardio workout unless you're in great shape, because of the constant up and down. Sure, you can hear me breathing. If you push hard on those climbs, it definitely gives you something to work at as far as the heart and lungs go. There are a couple bridges like that, but they're nice and wide, so nothing really to get worried about. If you're a newer rider, you're bringing a newer rider out with you to kind of get into the sport. And in terms of trail features, there really aren't any that are naturally occurring. There are a couple of short, skinny, man-made features, one's coming up here, that are, given the trail's relative ease, these are a little tricky. Here's that first feature, that little skinny to very small drop. The only thing that makes this drop the least bit difficult is those roots standing in the landing. The landing spot you want, of course, past the roots is down here. Compared to the lip, that's only about mid-thigh height for me. I'm 5'10" for reference, so very short. The only thing, other than those couple routes is it's not terribly wide, about a foot. So if you haven't seen stuff like this before, and you're looking for something to experiment with, this is actually a pretty decent place to start. Other than an uphill climb coming into it, although mild uphill, it is nice because it's narrow enough to kind of get used to being on stuff like this, and you can just roll off the end of this. But if you hit it aggressively, you can pull up, pop a little bit, and land out here in the trail. And I feel like it is a good training piece to get used to skinnies, or, you know, moderately skinny features with a little bit of a drop at the end. This reminds me a lot of some of the stuff we'd see on Florida trails when I was first starting to ride. And as a newer rider, I really love stuff like this, so hopefully you'll enjoy it. Small but fun drop there. And you can probably see in the video, there's a very easy bypass. In fact, you almost have to go out of your way to hit that, so no risk, at least in my mind, to newer riders accidentally going on that. So, good learning piece if those are new for you. And there's the other bridge I was mentioning. Now coming up is the other skinny feature that I mentioned. This one is about the same width, but there's no drop at the end. Although I do like to drop off the side. It's just more fun that way. So toward the end here, there is some pretty fun sections that are a little bit more enjoyable for the faster riders than the first bits were. And this is the end of Log Rhythm. Pretty consistent trail throughout, except for a couple of those faster sections. So no need to really record this entire loop, but a nice, easy, short ride. And right around these next two corners is the intersection for the gate. And there we are. Log Rhythm.